Hello and good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Liverpool.com Daily Morning Bulletin. I am joined today by my colleague and fellow Liverpool.com writer Andrew Beasley, and today we're going to talk about Liverpool's thrilling 3-3 draw against Benfica yesterday. Andrew, it was a game that really didn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It was more just to get the job over the line. How did you feel the game went, and what was your assessment overall?
Yeah, it was a good game. It was entertaining. I think Benfica gave it a good go, but as much as they scored 3 goals, I mean, they were behind in the tie from once Liverpool scored the first goal in the first leg. You know, they scored equalised yesterday, but they were never level in the tie at any point. I think had they gone 4-3 up with a few minutes to go, it might have got a bit nervy, perhaps. But they certainly showed how to exploit the Liverpool high line. Did that very well. But of course, it wasn't the regular Liverpool high line in that it was a rotated defence, which I was not expecting that many changes to the defence. But that's what Klopp went for, and he was ultimately proved correct, as he usually is.
Yeah, it was a very experimental, even starting 11 that Jurgen Klopp went for yesterday. And you were saying you were very surprised about the back line. Was there anybody do you think that took their chance to impress in the game yesterday, or do you think that maybe there was a couple of members of the squad that really didn't take their chance to shine in a Champions League quarter final, no less?
Well, it was always going to be difficult. I mean, you sort of see it. It seems strange to compare it, but you sort of see it in some of the early rounds in the domestic cups where they sort of have a team that's never played together before and they don't play that well. But it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. I mean, obviously, Tsimikas got a couple of assists, which was great for him. 6 for the season. I think he's got 4 in his last 5 games or something. You know, he doesn't play that often, but he seems to deliver when he comes in. So that was good for him. I thought Naby Keita played quite well, and then when I was watching the post-match analysis, they were quite critical of him. But obviously, you know, game of opinions and all that. Who am I to?
Nobody divides opinion more than Naby Keita does.
There is also that, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a fan, so I'm probably inclined to, you know, my natural bias is inclined to look for the good things he does or whatever. But I thought he did okay. Post-match analysis disagreed, but that's fine. And obviously, you know, Firmino is probably the 5th man out of 5 in the front 3 now. But with 2 goals yesterday, I'd be surprised if he started on Saturday. But obviously, he's done his chances no harm there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was your? It's a difficult game to gauge considering that Liverpool were 3-1 up from the first leg. But what were your impressions of Benfica and more specifically Darwin Nunez? There has been some links that Liverpool may be interested in signing him in the summer. Did he impress you, and do you think he would be a good addition to the Liverpool front line?
I think it's sort of 2 things. Yes, he did impress me. Clearly a very good player, and he would probably add something to the Liverpool front line. But obviously, that doesn't mean they're going to go for him. I think particularly having bought Diaz in January, I think it's unlikely Liverpool are going to make a signing up front this summer, unless, of course, one of the big players leaves, which we're not expecting at this point. But who knows? Obviously, the contracts are running down for the established front 3. But no, Nunez is clearly a very good player. I can imagine him playing in the Premier League. Certainly, I think there's going to be a lot of teams in for him, not just Liverpool, if they even actually are. But yeah, I think he'd be a good addition for a lot of teams. He certainly looks impressive. I'm not sure how many goals he scored this season, but I think he's top scorer in Portugal. And obviously, you know, that people sort of start considering it maybe the 5th best league in Europe ahead of France. So I mean, if he's, you know, top scorer in that, he's doing all right. So yeah, I could see him moving to the Premier League this summer, but I would be surprised if it was Liverpool.
Yeah, I think in that instance, it's more of Liverpool would need to sell before they would buy another forward, considering that Luis Diaz just came in January. And I kind of felt sorry for him because how many goals did he score? And they were all ruled off for offside. I know it's Liverpool's defense line doing his job, but you just think like a lot of his goals were very good finishes, and you just think he's a natural finisher. But just unfortunately for him, unfortunately for Liverpool, not many of them actually counted.
Yeah, if he does move to the Premier League next year, if Liverpool play him, they'll have to sort out that high line, which I'm sure they will, obviously, with the main guys in or whatever. But yeah, as you say, he took his chances well, and I mean, it was only a great save from Alisson that they didn't go 4-3 up quite late on. So yeah, it's he definitely looks like a great player, certainly.
Yeah. And speaking of the high line, we saw Benfica get in several times in behind Liverpool's high line. Do you think it's something that Jurgen Klopp should utilise when the normal defence isn't that there?
You mean, should they drop deeper when it's not the regular guys?
Yeah.
It's difficult because you don't want to change the way the team plays. You know, the team is so good going forward because the defence is so high and it, you know, pushes everything up the field. So I can understand why they did it last season when they were battling at the end of the year with Nat Phillips, Reece Williams, guys like that. I can understand why they did it a bit more then. But I think it's sensible to just keep playing the same way as often as you can when your regular guys are available. I mean, obviously, you know, in a different scenario, perhaps it would make sense. But I can see absolutely why they played that way last night, definitely.
Yeah, I suppose it's better for consistency just to keep playing the same system as opposed to chopping and changing depending on the personnel that you put in.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we take a look forward to the semi-final. I think, isn't it Liverpool's 12th semi-final, and no English club have matched that record, and play a Spanish side, Villarreal. Were you surprised that Villarreal beat Bayern, or well, said beat, advanced past Bayern because it was 1-1 in Munich?
Yeah.
How do you fancy Liverpool's chances? And no doubt Liverpool are on the more favourable side of the draw, you know, when you consider who's on the other side. But I don't think Villarreal, they can't be underestimated considering they've beat Juve and Bayern to get to the semi-final. What are your thoughts on the draw?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, you say, is it a surprise? It is, of course, a surprise that Villarreal knocked out Bayern Munich. But when you look at the match, I mean, just the stats, basically, you can picture the match from the stats or the tie, I should say, because Bayern had something like 45 shots and Villarreal had about 15. But Villarreal had more clear-cut chances, even though they had about a third of the shots. They had more clear-cut chances. So they defended deep, they defended well, restricted Bayern to a lot of long-range shots and things like that. Very few good chances. But they were then able to counter, and they took their chances when they got them. And clearly, they're going to fancy that they can do something similar to Liverpool. And obviously, Unai Emery has beat Liverpool in the 2016 Europa League final when he was with Seville. This is clearly a different Liverpool team to that one. A lot more threatening and, you know, a lot better going forward than Liverpool were in those days. But clearly, Villarreal are going to play the same way they played against Bayern, you would think. They're going to look to just keep Liverpool restricted to long-range shots. But I think Liverpool have probably got too much. They certainly should have. I think it's possibly one tie. You know, you always think about, you want to play at home second. It's probably no bad thing to play at home first here because, you know, if Liverpool did play away first and didn't get a great result and then obviously have to try and break them down at Anfield, could get very frustrating. Whereas I think Liverpool should win at Anfield in the first leg, and then Villarreal will have to come out more in the second leg, and then that should work in Liverpool's favour in Spain. So this could be one tie where playing at home first helps. Liverpool won't, you know, it won't be, you know, sort of 5-2 or whatever it was against Rome. I don't think it'll be one of those, but they should have too much and they should go through. Yeah.
Yeah, and Unai Emery, you know, Villarreal have one of the great cup managers. Like, you don't know how he does. He just continually causes upsets in cup competitions. And when you consider where, you know, Villarreal's spending power, you know, compared to the likes of Juve and Bayern, who they knocked out, you know, in the previous rounds, it's staggering that a team. I think in Deloitte's Money League, Villarreal were 40th. You know, they weren't even they're not even in the top 20. Usually, they release their list every January or whatever, and it's usually the top 20. But Villarreal, I think, are 40th if you had to stretch it to 40. You know, so that's how minimal their finances are compared to the bigger sides that they've put out, and they definitely deserve respect. You don't get to a semi-final by being a so-so team. It definitely won't be easy for Liverpool, but you will consider that Man City and Real Madrid on the other side of the draw, they would take Villarreal 9 times out of 10, but it won't be easy. So in terms of Saturday, did you happen to catch any of the Atletico Man City game?
No, I sort of stuck with the Liverpool game. I think with hindsight, I probably should have switched over to watch the last sort of 20 minutes or so of that game, because it sounds like Atleti kicked lumps out of Man City, which obviously nobody wants to see that, but probably does Liverpool a bit of a favour ahead of the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was some Atletico-esque tactics from Man City themselves, trying to waste time and so on. But yeah, I think it definitely plays into Saturday, and that Liverpool got to rest a lot of the key players or brought them on late in the game of Benfica, whereas Man City they had a slugfest for 180 minutes. So I think it all ties in nicely for Liverpool on Saturday with the FA Cup semi-final. But yeah, that'll do us for today's edition of the Daily Bulletin. Be sure to check out the website and our YouTube channel for visual content, and we will have opinions and features and articles throughout the day on Liverpool.com from Andrew and myself. So be sure to check out the website, and that's all for now.